Okay, hi Jordan. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you here. This looks like it's more than a book. Arkonus. I mean, I see a book cover, but there's a whole description about music. And why don't you just tell us what this is all about?
Yeah, of course. So Arkonus is a science fiction trilogy, a saga that I wrote. This is the first book that's being released, the first one. It's accompanied by a soundtrack, orchestral soundtrack that I composed myself. It comes with art and lore and everything that comes along with a big story like this. So it's kind of more encompassing than you would might realize, before looking at it. It comes with a lot of different aspects to it to kind of make it a full experience for the reader themselves.
So, does it come with a CD or something?
No, it comes with free music that's available on the website, and then I'll have that up on YouTube as well.
Okay, now does the music follow the book? I mean, are you supposed to do it in sync?
No, you actually don't have to do it in sync. Each song is just dedicated towards a part of the story. It just adds a layer of emotion for the readers themselves. If they don't have to listen to the music. It's really there's just it's just like, oh, okay, I understand the emotional setting behind this, or maybe there's a battle or something that might come along that will better give it more emotion behind that scene.
Okay, did you write the music?
I did, yes.
Okay, so you wrote the music and you wrote the story.
Correct.
All right. Give us an overview of the story then, if you would.
Yeah, of course. So the story is about a hunter. His name is Darius. And think of like a samurai, like a sacred profession. So he's in part of a sacred profession that goes back, many years, many lineages. And he's on this quest to become the greatest hunter in the galaxy. I mean, that's part of his religion. It's very important to him, the sacred profession. And ultimately, he's part of a select few that were previewed to a dark prophecy that slowly unveils itself through these hunts, and he starts getting little bits of information that start to become available to him, and it kind of disturbs him. So he has to ultimately leave his profession to try to stop this dark prophecy from coming true, which is the galaxy is dying, and he has to be the one to save it through these little bits of information and clues that he's getting from this hunts. Now, being that he can't leave his profession because it's a sacred profession, so he ends up becoming a traitor and one of the most hunted people in the galaxy. So not only does he have to try to stop this prophecy, he's now a wanted man in a very dangerous galaxy.
Okay, is that his name? Arconus is his name?
No, his name is Darius, and Arkonus is explained in the book and what it means and what it actually is. Um, but his name is Darius.
Okay, now this is not of Earth, right? This is somewhere else.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, it's in its own universe, its own galaxy.
Where did the story come from? What inspired this?
So what inspired me, growing up in science fiction, I loved Star Trek, Star Wars, all that. And a lot of this, it came from a state of, wanting to create this grand adventure, but I didn't know how to do it. I was a composer most of my life, since I was very young. So I made like these soundtracks, and I said, well, what would be very interesting, and trying to create something that go along with that to make it a synergy. And I thought, well, let's make a grand story to go along with the music. I thought that would be a very cool idea, and that's what I did. I was inspired by very epic sounding music soundtracks from those movies, from Star Trek, Star Wars. Those big epic John Williams or Hans Zimmer composers that would make, and I would ultimately I wrote a story to make it align with the soundtrack and go from there.
So you wrote the music first, and then the story came after?
Yeah, yeah, and I did write more as the story went on a little bit, but for the first book and second book, I primarily did go write everything before I wrote the book.
Okay, is this one the first book?
This is, yes.
Okay, and you said it's going to be a trilogy. Are the other ones coming or are they out already?
Yeah, so the second one is in editing right now, so my goal will be to get that out before the end of the year, and then early to mid next year I'll have the final book out, which is already written. I just have to edit it.
Okay. Have you published work before? Literary work?
No, this is my first, so it's been a long ride getting there. So this is my first publication.
Did you self-publish it or did somebody pick it up?
I self-published it. That's my goal, is to get to become published. But for right now, I had to self-publish it.
Okay. How was that process? I've heard people say that it was easy and other people say that it was daunting.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, there are daunting facts. You have to get the book ready for. You can't just publish like a PDF or a Word file. It has to be converted to a electronic book, which is kind of a pain. So getting that done, and then making sure everything's formatted correctly, because if it's going on a Kindle or like a Nook or something, it has to be formatted a certain way. So that was the toughest part for self-publishing, was getting that correct.
What about the editing? Did you do that yourself or did you get somebody to do it?
Yeah, so I hired an editor. I edited myself, like with the big stuff and then story changes. But I do have an editor that will work to help with like grammar stuff, and also will look at the developmental changes in the book.
Where do you see this going? I mean, do you want to turn it into some big franchise and have them make a movie about it? And is that your aspiration?
Yeah, my aspiration, definitely. I wrote these stories to be easily converted into a book, just because they're action packed. They're broken down by, I like to, they could use them as scenes in a movie if they needed to. So I wrote these as if they, I want the reader to read the book, and if they listen to music, oh, I felt like I just watched a science fiction film or an action film. That's what I want them to take away from it. So yes, my ultimate goal would be to hopefully get these out there one day, published, and then also, hey, if a movie comes along, that's great.
So you said the book is is it sort of written in a screenplay format?
Well, it's written as a book, but the way I wrote it could be easily converted to like a screenplay if they needed to, if that makes sense.
So the first book has been released?
Yes.
Okay, do you know when it was released?
I just re-released it this year. I had it on Amazon, but we needed to make some changes just because of the ebook stuff. I re-released it this year.
I guess the last question is, do you have a website that you want to give out for the book?
Yeah, my website is it's just arkonus.com, and then from there it has all the links to where you could buy it, to social media, to the images, to the music, to everything that you need.
Okay, so when you download the book, there's a link or something to get the music?
Yeah, it's right in the beginning of the book, and then even in the printed version, it'll have the website right in the beginning.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, Jordan, we're going to wind this down. Thanks so much for coming on, and
Thank you.
best of luck with the books. I hope they do well.
Thank you.